Hey, Steph, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me. So I'm in sales, have been in sales since I graduated college. It's funny, I was a athlete all my life, even through college, and I thought I wanted to be a sports psychologist.
Yeah.
And then I learned how much school that took. And so I kept the psychology but added business to it. And I thought, well, psychology, you understand people and might as well just kind of go in with the business and go through that. And sales seemed like a good job to have to kind of bring in all of the things that I loved, which was competing, working with people, understanding people, and solving problems. So, right out of the gate at 22, I started an outside sales job and literally got thrown into it was baptism by fire. I was speaking with chief marketing officers and people that I had no business speaking with.
Yeah.
But I have loved it. And here I am, 13 years later, still doing it.
And what do you like about it?
I like that number one, you get to work with all different types of personalities. And
You just
sometimes
a
that's
nice
good.
stand for it.
Sometimes that's good. But it enables you to like really be agile and adjust. And I like that. Winning people over is fun. And I like that you can be an individual contributor while still contributing and impacting a team and be something that's bigger than yourself, which goes back to sports. And it allowed me to stay competitive and still make the type of impacts and fill the buckets that I needed to be filled um, as an adult. So that's why I like it. I like talking with people and solving problems. So,
Well,
and it's nice. It's also nice to be paid and rewarded for your hard
isn't it?
work.
Yeah. What sport did you play?
I played softball in college.
Okay. So team sport.
Yep.
What position?
I played outfield.
Okay.
The other good translation from a sport like baseball or softball is that, a good batting average is 300, which means you would have failed 7 times
Yeah.
out of 10. So it's a good sport to teach you a lot of resilience and tenacity and grit, which has served me really well in sales.
Well, especially an outfielder, you're kind of, it's like inbound, right? When you get inbound, you better get it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I also, you think about hitting
Hitting. Yeah.
too. Hitting is a big thing, but yeah, there's a lot of parallels between the two.
And when you were up to bat, if you had the same experience I did, where people support half the people are supporting you and the other half are jabbing you. Did you have that?
Like the fans.
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that fueled me. I loved that.
yeah.
Did you like that?
Well, I was a pitcher, so I had half the people somewhat supporting me and the other half trying to get me off balance.
Yeah.
And I didn't play in college, but I played in when I was a kid, even before high school. So when you've never been under that type of pressure, everyone's staring at you, and some people are supporting you, and a lot of people are yelling at you.
Yep. Yep. It's from a mental toughness standpoint, it takes a lot
Right.
and you got to be good at it.
Yeah. So you got to focus and try and get that ball in that strike zone fast enough so that the other person doesn't hit it.
Yep.
And if it goes wrong, you're the point person.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure as a
It's
pitcher.
a lot of pressure. And you also have the most common degree I've found in salespeople.
Psychology.
Yeah. Well, I think it shows curiosity.
Mhm. I think, people with psych degrees and I've learned, as I've gotten more into this, that oftentimes we lead with empathy and we have a high level of EQ, which serves us very well.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, when I got into sales, I was, I got a lot of really great advice from really successful people. But one of the things that I always leaned on was, how do I want to be treated? I don't want to be somebody pushing something on me. I don't want somebody talking about something that's not relevant to a problem that I have. So I leaned on that quite a bit, and it is amazing. People want to be treated like a human. They want to be understood. They want to be heard and listened to. So I am not surprised at all that there's many of us people who studied psychology that are in there and have found success.
Because like what other courses teach you that people are different, that were and people are not going through the same thing, have different backgrounds, and
Yep.
view the world differently.
Yes.
You don't get that in history or math or poli sci or a lot of
You
these.
really don't.
No.
I I think everybody should take at least one psychology course or a few. Um, Especially where we're at now, it's like it's good to just take a step back and understand people's points of view and what's challenging them, or, you know, walking in somebody else's shoes. It will never hurt you to do that.
So, and was it a natural transition getting into sales, or was it?
Yeah, it was. Like I said, there was a lot of things that I enjoyed about sport, and I was seeking those same things out in a job, and sales, filled a lot of those buckets that I was looking for. So it was pretty natural. My dad was in sales, so I knew about it,
Okay.
but I don't think I really understood sales.
No.
Like you graduate and you're like, sure, I'll get into sales. I can make a base and I can make commission, but you really don't know about it until you get in it.
Yeah.
What?
Because no other job really has that type of pressure.
No. And, I think it's one of those things where, at least for me, I, while baptism by fire is not great for everybody, it's the best way to learn. And some of those things just are really hard to teach, like the
Yeah.
grit and the resiliency. People can obviously take courses or learn it, but it helps you a lot to come from experiences that get you there quicker.
Yeah.
So,
Because it's not just knowing it. You had to have had a coach, team player, team members,
yep,
pressure, winning and losing.
yep,
And those things you can't learn in a book. Those
no. And you're not going to really learn them in a, 30-day training program
no, you're
either.
not. Right. Because I don't think people get out of sales because, they don't like talking to people. They don't like the rejection. They don't like the pressure at the end of the quarter.
Yeah,
Don't like losing.
right. Right. I hate losing more than I like winning.
That
How do
seems
you
pretty.
what do you think?
Oh God, yeah. You know,
Ah,
the winning's nice, but the losing is so painful.
so painful. But you do learn a lot from the loss, which I think
Hopefully.
is which hopefully, which is important to keep in mind, I think, for, people early in their careers. Because I think about, I was 22, 23, talking to, a lot of trust was placed in me when I first started out, which was wonderful. But it forced me to fail fast and learn quickly. And I am forever grateful for that opportunity. But I think what can be lost if you don't take the time to think about it is learning from those losses. If you don't have the mindset to do that, you will get burnt out. You won't learn anything. And it'll be, I think, harder to find, it'll take longer to find success if you cannot take a step back and say, okay, what did we learn here? What things do I need to tweak to get better or change so that I can be successful the next time.
That's it, because there is kind of a fine line between learned helplessness, where you can't do anything because there's risk of messing up.
Yep.
And then there's, oh, which is a clear lesson. You gave a proposal to the wrong person. You believed what they said versus testing what they're saying.
Yep.
You underestimated how long it was going to take.
Yes.
Any of those sound
Yes.
familiar?
Yes. Just not even asking the questions, you know,
Not
just,
preparing before you go into the call.
yep. Yeah.
And how did you either remember those things or build them into your style?
So I think I had, again, I failed fast and quick, and I had to figure out was what were the people who were winning. I think that's the other important thing. What are the people that are winning? What are they doing that's different than what I'm doing? And I remember one of the first on-site meetings that I went to when I first started out, and I thought this guy was just amazing. And he was amazing because he listened, and then he was able to relate their challenges back to another customer that we had,
Yeah.
how they were using the platform, what they were doing, and then the outcomes. And after that, I said, I need more client stories, because that was so impactful in that meeting. And so I sat down with our customer success team and I said, I need whatever client meetings that you have, please invite me. I need to learn about them. And or can you tell me more about this stuff? Because, I didn't have any training. There was no formal process to share any of this stuff. So I just had to be gritty about it and kind of navigate my way through it and learn from my peers at the same time. Thankfully, we were a very collaborative group, so we were able to share a lot of these things together. Or, hey, I did this and this did not work, so don't do that.
Yeah.
Or here's what I'm doing, let's try this. So it was a lot of trial and error, to be honest with you. And then seeking out high performers and figuring out what they were doing differently that I should be adopting.
That is critical. And too many people think it's, oh, they're just charming, or, oh, they've got 10 years on me, or they're a natural. But when
Yeah.
you pull down, like, exactly did they say? How did they say it? In what context did they say it?
Yeah.
Because although it's like a sport and its competitiveness and its repetition, it doesn't have the structure so much as a sport.
Yep. You're right.
Because in softball, you have the practices,
Yep.
right? Hit the ball, catch, hit the ball, catch, hit the ball, catch. And you had that repetition. It was very confined.
And here, your practice a lot of times are
Live.
live. Yeah. So,
And people don't think they have to warm up. They don't think that they have to,
yes.
but like when I pitched, there was that warm up. The coach would say, go warm up.
Yep.
I know how to throw a ball. You got to get the
Yeah.
arm warm. You got to get the mindset. You got to get focused.
Yes. You're so right. You're so right. Anytime you start a new job, you're probably not going to be that great right out of the
No, you're
gate.
not.
That was really hard for me as I was transitioning jobs, like going from at the time you leave, hopefully you're an expert, and then you transition, you're like, oh crap. Now I'm a I'm the person on the bench now, and I'm trying to figure out how to sell this thing and be really good at it. Um, there's nothing I don't think any sort of role playing can really prepare you for the live event, which is different than the sport, like you said, which is kind of why I like to just throw me in. I know that, hey, this isn't going to be my top performance, but at least I'm learning and I'm getting some live experiences. At the same time, I'm sitting and observing other people who are really good at this. And I think those two things combined, at least for me, that's how I learn best and to be better.
And did you kind of document what they were doing, or how did you would you analyze them like a psychiatrist would?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would be like, okay, what does this person do that's good? Well, I've noticed that they perk up a little bit, like the audience perks up a little bit when client stories are coming
Yeah.
in. Or, one thing that I just naturally do because it makes me feel more comfortable that I also noticed that other people were doing is that they would spend the first couple minutes not even talking about business, but trying to get to know the other person.
Yeah. Warm up.
Again, that comes really naturally for me, but it also makes me feel more comfortable, less nervous than diving into business. And so, yeah, I just would observe some of these things and then I would apply it in my own way. I think the worst thing that people can do is, hey, Brian, you say this thing this way, like this all the time. I'm going to do exactly what you do.
Yeah.
And that's not authentic. And people pick up on that.
Right. Because you're kind of acting,
Yeah.
and it typically doesn't feel authentic to you or to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to the empathy and the EQ, I think people just really appreciate authenticity. And it was funny because not too long ago I was in a meeting and we changed from Zoom to Teams and I had no idea what I was doing in Teams. And I was like, you guys, I'm so sorry. There was 20 people on the other line and I was like, I am so sorry. This is the first time I'm using Teams to present. And I just had to own it. Like, hey guys, sorry. And people just, while I used to beat myself up for stuff like that, now it just makes you human. And I think people just really appreciate that.
Yeah. And you came highly recommended. What do you think motivated the people to nominate you?
Um, I think that, it's interesting. I place a lot of emphasis at the end of the day, I think why I came nominated is because it's not about me. And that is true for my teammates who work with me and the clients that I work with. I always want to do what's best for my teammates and the people that I work with. And so, the people that nominated me, one of them is, outside sale. The other guy that nominated me has been my inside sales rep at two different companies and he would follow me anywhere. And, you know, I think it just goes back to support. And I think that they can see authenticity, they can see support, they see that, you know, it's again, it's a team. I'm here for them just as much as they're here for me, and we win together. And when you come from athletics, you get that. And, I have lifelong relationships with a lot of people that I sold to, and even some that didn't end up buying. And I think it's because they trust me. I have been authentic. I tell them the truth. It's like, yeah, our product doesn't do that. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that it does. So I think it boils down to a lot of things. I get to know people, I care about them, I want what's best for them. And at the end of the day, again, for the client, if I don't make as much money, but I'm doing what's right by the client, they see that and they will come back to me.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I was nominated.
Because it's a hard mix because you need to be emotionally connected to win, but you can't be too focused on just winning.
Yeah.
So it's
Yep.
that, because when people look at it as a transaction, everyone feels it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that I take a lot of pride in is In my sales process, I do a lot of discovery, a lot. And again, at the end of the day, it's not about me.
Right.
If if I come in pushing my product and it is not relevant at all to their needs, they're going to say like, I don't want to work with her.
It always comes up anyway.
Yes.
Why wait till you're 3 months into the deal for them to realize it's not a fit?
Right. Yeah. It's like, let's qualify this and let's make sure that it's qualified on things that, we can solidly deliver on. And if it's not, be truthful. Um, because at the end of the day, it's not good for the company either. Again, so I have like my little, sales team, but I'm also supported by a ton of other people. And I want to set them up for success because I want the company to be successful. Um, so thankfully, to this point, I have had no clients that I've brought on that have been unhappy with what they've gotten because I've been pretty transparent about everything.
And a lot of people look at qualification of whether they can afford it or they're in power. But I think what you're talking about is it the right match?
Yeah.
Do they have the problem that you solve, and do they care about it enough to take the action to solve it?
Yep. Yep. And sometimes that's, yeah, we have that need now. Or can I create a need? Or do they even realize they have a need? And in that case, then you bring in client stories, hey, I've been hearing this from other people. Is this something again, they don't know what they don't know. So it's my job to qualify it, say, is this going to be a match for us? And then it's my job too, if they don't have any problems, is there something I can uncover that they may not know is a problem for them today?
Yep.
And it's not me. Yes, I'm asking the questions, but I'm also bringing in examples of other people who are similar or like them that are experiencing some of these things that will be an aha moment for them to say, gosh, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
And I also think that people underestimate the power of your coworkers' knowledge. Too many people go to the water cooler view of it. Let's complain about the comp plan, the territory, instead of what's working for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating because I again, this could go back to sport, but you can always get better. Like
Yeah, no one's perfect.
nobody's perfect. So while yes, I've been successful, there are always things that I can improve on. And, if Joe he had a great quarter, what is he doing? Maybe we're doing similar things, but maybe there's something in there that I can adopt. So I am constantly asking for feedback and constantly asking these other top performers, what are you doing? What can I adopt? Because I want to get better. And I think as soon as you think that you're the best is probably the time that you start going
You
down.
stop looking
Yeah.
because too many people say, well, Joe's got a better territory. Well, that might be true, but
Yep.
there might be a lot more to it than that. Why is his deals bigger?
Yep.
Or he won where I didn't think he had a chance of winning.
Yep.
How about competing against your competitors? What's your mindset there?
Ooh, it's funny. Uh, I've been in a space where there's pretty consistent competition there. But I think really knowing the challenges or the things that they can't deliver on has been big for me.
Yeah.
So again, I'm sure like lots of good salespeople, you know your competition pretty well. So you know how and what to ask to get them down this path so that you can fill in your solution to the answers that they gave you to say, okay, yeah, you're telling me that X, Y, and Z, but I'm leading them down this by questions that I'm asking because I know the weaknesses of the other companies.
Yeah.
And then I'm filling in hey, this is what our clients are doing, or this is what we can do. But still, at the end of the day, it's about them. It's not me pitching a commercial
Right.
about my product. It's me truly trying to understand what they're up against or how they're using things, and knowing in the back of my mind, here's a pretty consistent theme I know where we beat the competition.
Right. And when a rep comes to you for help, where do you start?
Um, so help in like, hey, I'm struggling on something,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. What would you do in this case? It's the question I usually hear. Or they feel like nothing works, or they're burnt out.
yeah. So it is funny because, having the psych degree, I do get a lot of people coming to me. Generally, my first question is, what have you tried?
Good question. Yeah.
And, or what do you think? Because I think at some point, people just start to question themselves. Maybe they're going through a slump and they're starting to, their confidence is slipping. So trying to figure out, okay, what have they been doing that has not worked or
Yeah.
has worked? Maybe we just need to revisit some of the things that you were doing before. So those are generally the questions that I ask first. And then I'll talk about, here's what I did in that situation. But generally, I think it's important to try to get them to figure it out.
Right.
um, it's way better if they can come up with their own solution rather than having somebody tell them.
Right. But a lot of people don't want the ownership,
Right.
because if it
Right.
doesn't work, it's like, Steph didn't know what she's talking
Yeah.
about.
And I'm happy, again, I'm happy to give advice, but I think that if you can challenge them a little bit, like,
Yeah. What have you tried so far?
yeah,
What?
like, you're here for a reason. Let's figure this out together.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's worked well. Of course, when people are at their wits' end, they're like, nothing's working. Just tell me what I should be doing.
Right.
You need to kind of figure that out a little bit. Like, what emotional state are they in right now? And are you just going to make them more mad by asking them questions back?
Yeah.
Um, but most of the time it's like confidence. So I'll ask them that. And then, I've found that probably another reason why I was nominated for this is, I'm the cheerleader too. I think it's sales is a really hard job. If it was easy, everybody would do
Everyone do
it.
it. Yeah.
And so I think, having good teammates to cheer you on or help you work through the valleys of sales, I think is important. And again, it goes back to the camaraderie and the team feeling that I have, going into battle with all of these people. So
And how do you keep up and not get on the roller coaster of great day, bad day, great day, bad day?
so at the beginning I had mentioned, I got some really good advice from some really great salespeople. And some of the early advice that I had gotten was, you cannot get too high and you cannot get too low. And that repeats in my head on those bad days or during those bad times, because inevitably everybody has them.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't get too high because, again, it's funny, okay, I closed this big deal. Well, crap. Now I've got to fill that in my pipeline with something else.
Yeah.
So then you're on to the next thing. And that's probably not uncommon with a lot of salespeople. It's like, great, I got that win, but shoot, now I've got to
Right.
replace that in my pipeline. So on to the next thing. But that's probably the best advice that I've gotten is, hey, you can't get too high and you can't get too low, because there's going to be some low points, but it'll always come back up as long as you work hard.
And it's good to kind of have that emotional regularity,
Yeah.
because it's super easy to get too high,
Yeah.
and it's pretty easy to get too low too. But
Yeah. I would
but
say it's probably easier to get too low than too
yeah,
high, at least for me.
But if you kind of keep that in mind, you'll put the brakes on it and realize it's temporary.
Yep, it's always temporary. And I think, hard work, the other thing that you know, I think is always good that I learned again in sport is hard work always pays off. And
Eventually.
we're pretty, we want this instant gratification all the time now. Um, but it's never gonna work. The timing's never gonna work like we want it. But if you just keep clipping away, pick up that phone, do that email,
Right.
it will work out. You just got to get through those rough patches.
Cool. Hey, Steph, I really appreciate your time today. Where can people go to connect and follow you?
I'm on LinkedIn for Steph Bestie. That's probably the best place to catch me. Happy to chit chat with anybody, but this was wonderful. Kind of all over the place, Brian, but I appreciate it.